The grocery store shelves are empty. Have been for weeks. You're staring at a 5-pound bag of flour, your last one, knowing it's useless without yeast. Those little packets that used to cost $1 now feel like they should have been traded for gold when you had the chance. But here's the thing nobody told you. Yeast was never something you needed to buy. It's floating around you right now, in the air, on your hands, on the skin of every potato rotting in your pantry. Wild yeast is everywhere, and it has been making bread for 10,000 years without a single trip to the baking aisle. You don't need packets, you need patience and some potato water. Let me show you how to build a biological perpetual motion machine that will bake bread for the rest of your life. The pioneers knew this. The 49ers hauling picks into the Sierra Nevada knew this. Sourdough miners kept their starters alive in leather pouches tucked right against their chest, body heat keeping the culture warm through freezing mountain nights. Some of those starters were passed down for generations. There are bakeries today using cultures that trace their lineage back to the 1849 gold rush. That's not mythology, that's microbiology. A sourdough starter is a living ecosystem. It's wild yeast and lactobacillus bacteria working together in perfect symbiosis. The yeast produces carbon dioxide, that's what makes your bread rise. The bacteria produce lactic acid, that's what gives sourdough its signature tang, and, more importantly, acts as a natural preservative. So this isn't just bread, it's bread that resists mold, digests easier, and requires no refrigeration to keep the culture alive. Commercial yeast is a single strain, bred for speed and nothing else. It dies fast, stores poorly, and when the supply chain breaks, you're done. Wild yeast is resilient, it adapts, it survives, and it is free. Here's how you capture it. Start with potatoes. It doesn't matter what kind, russets, reds, those wrinkled ones you forgot about in the back of the cabinet. You can peel them or not, but try to keep the skins. The skin is where most of the wild yeast lives. Boil the potatoes in water. Not a lot of water, just enough to cover them. You're making mashed potatoes for yourself and medicine for your starter. When the potatoes are soft, pull them out and save that starchy water. Let it cool completely to room temperature. Hot water kills yeast. Patience is key here. Now, take a clean jar. Glass is best, but any container works as long as it's not metal. Metal can react with the acids your starter will produce. Add 1 cup of that cooled potato water and 1 cup of flour. Stir it together until it's a thick paste, like pancake batter that's seen better days. Cover it loosely, not airtight. The yeast needs to breathe. A cloth works, a coffee filter works, a lid set on top without being screwed down works. Put the jar somewhere warm. 70 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit is ideal. Near a stove, on top of a refrigerator, in a cupboard with a pilot light. The warmer the environment, the faster things will happen. Now you wait. Day 1, nothing happens. That's normal. Day 2, you might see some small bubbles. On day 3, you'll see more bubbles and possibly a smell. Tangy, sour, maybe a little funky. That's the bacteria getting to work. By day 4, things should be active. You'll see bubbles rising through the batter, a distinct sour smell. The surface might even look foamy. If it smells like alcohol, that's fine. If it smells like rotten death, throw it out and start over. Sometimes bad bacteria win the race. That's rare if you keep things clean, but it can happen. Here's where the magic starts. Feeding. Every day, at the same time if you can manage it, you're going to discard half your starter and add fresh flour and water, equal parts. So if you had 1 cup of starter, you throw away half a cup, then add half a cup of flour and half a cup of water. Stir, cover, wait. Why discard? Because the yeast and bacteria are eating the flour and producing waste products. If you just keep adding food without removing some of the old culture, the acidity builds up too high and the population dies. Discarding keeps the pH balanced and the ecosystem healthy. Think of it like changing the oil in an engine that runs on flour. By day 7, maybe 10, you'll have an active, bubbly, living starter that reliably doubles in size within 4 to 6 hours of being fed. That's when you know it's ready. That's when it's strong enough to raise bread.
And here's the beautiful part. It never stops. As long as you feed it, it lives. As long as it lives, you have bread. The miners knew this. They slept with their starters. They gave them names. Some sourdough cultures have documented lineages older than most family trees. Now, about keeping it alive. If you're baking regularly, every day or a couple of days, keep the starter on the counter at room temperature. Feed it once a day. It stays active and ready to use at a moment's notice. If you're baking less frequently, you can slow its metabolism by putting it in a cool place, a root cellar, a basement, somewhere around 50 degrees. At cooler temperatures, the yeast slows down. You only need to feed it once a week. It essentially hibernates. No refrigerator? No problem. That's how humanity did it for millennia. Cool temperatures slow things down. Warm temperatures speed them up. You are in control of the pace. Here's what the pioneers did on the trail. They mixed flour into the starter until it became a thick, almost dry dough. Then they wrapped it in cloth, tucked it into a bag, and carried it with them. The dried starter went dormant. When they reached camp, they'd break off a piece, add water, let it rehydrate overnight, and by morning it was bubbling again. You can do the same. Spread your starter thin on parchment paper and let it dry completely. It turns into flakes. Those flakes can be stored for months, maybe years, in a sealed container. When you need it, add water and flour, and within a few days, it's back. The science here is simple. Yeast cells can survive desiccation, drying out, by entering a dormant state. Add water and food, and they wake up. This is the same mechanism that allows those commercial yeast packets to work, except you made this one yourself, from potatoes, for free. Let's talk bread. When your starter is active, doubled in size after a feeding, you're ready. A basic sourdough loaf needs nothing but your starter, flour, water, and salt. That's it. Mix 1 cup of active starter with 3 cups of flour, 1¼ cups of water, and 2 teaspoons of salt. Stir it together into a shaggy dough. Let it rest for 30 minutes. This is called autolyse. It lets the flour absorb the water and develop gluten on its own. Then you stretch and fold. Reach under the dough, pull one side up and fold it over. Rotate the bowl and repeat. Do this 4 times, north, south, east, west. That's 1 round. You'll do 3 rounds 30 minutes apart. This builds structure without aggressive kneading. Cover the dough and let it rise. At room temperature, this takes 8 to 12 hours. You'll know it's ready when it's increased by about 50% and looks puffy, with visible bubbles under the surface. Shape it. Flour your hands, turn the dough out, pull the edges towards the center to create surface tension. Flip it seam side down. Let it rest for another hour. Heat your oven as hot as it goes, 450, 500 degrees if you can manage. Put a Dutch oven or any heavy pot inside to preheat. When everything is scorching hot, carefully drop the dough into the pot, score the top with a knife to control its expansion, cover it, and bake for 30 minutes. Remove the lid and bake another 15 until it's deep brown and sounds hollow when you knock it on the bottom. You just made bread from nothing but wild yeast, flour, water, and heat. No store required. Here's the truth about survival nobody wants to admit. Skills are worth more than supplies. Supplies run out. The yeast packets expire. The last can of food eventually gets opened. But knowledge, how to capture wild yeast, how to keep a culture alive, how to turn flour into food, that is forever. You're not dependent anymore. The grocery store can stay empty. The supply chain can collapse. You've got a jar on your counter that makes bread from air and flour. Feed it. Keep it alive. Bake. And when someone asks where you got the yeast, tell them the truth. You didn't get it anywhere. It was always there. You just learned to catch it.